Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here. And as many of you may know, the Prime Minister of Slovakia has been shot, Robert Fico, something that we have been kind of predicting to a degree for many months now. And not that he would be shot, but there would be conflict in Slovakia. Europe is shocked by assassination attempt against Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, who, by the way, is in life-threatening condition. We're going to get into some interesting stuff today. I want to show you a video here. I'll try to get the audio through my microphone here, but there is video that has come out of the actual shooting. So here you can see and hopefully hear what's happened. They caught the person, obviously, who perpetrated it.
Následne bezpečnostné zložky útočníka spacifikovali a premiéra previezli pravdepodobne do nemocnice Handlová.
Now, of course, you know, we are pretty aware that it's Mossad, CIA, MI6 kind of operation here, because Slovakia is very much one of the more controversial countries right now due to Robert Fico rejecting the World Health Organization, rejecting the vaccines, and of course, rejecting the war with Russia, as they are very, very pro-Russia over there, as well as much as it goes for Robert Fico, of course. But you know, there's video coming out. The person who committed the attack was caught, but this is one of those JFK moments, my friends. And of course, we saw Shinzo Abe about 2 years ago get shot and killed. We don't know what the condition right now outside of life-threatening Robert Fico is in, but I wanted to go into why this happened today and how it correlates with the New World Order, how it correlates with World War III, which is being planned. As I made a post earlier today that got quite a bit of notice, which I wrote, this is exactly as the leaked German government documents said things would go down when they came out late last year. This is a lead up to World War III. Of course, when I mention these documents, I mention something that I went into to exhaust for quite a while, quite a few months ago, if you might remember, and put out a video called Breaking World War III False Flag Plan Leaked, German Government Plan for Global War with Russia in 2025, which you can find, of course, on Twitter or Rumble or BitChute at World Alternative Media. So we are going to go into exactly what happened here today. Before we do, I urge people to check those links below. Again, very important. Stock up now. We have heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, books on how to get started. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you get 5% off as well as free shipping to the United States. This is an extremely important thing when they are pushing forward with World War III, all by design. There's no good sides to this. It means it's an attack on humanity at the end of the day to force us into a new system of technocracy with food rations, energy rations, and complete technocratic enslavement. This is your time to get prepared. Once it has all come down, once that Tower of Babel is built, you will be on the inside looking out, and it will not be possible to escape, at least not easily. When you're on the outside looking in, you are able to mitigate a crisis and make the right decisions to solve the crisis at hand. So we appreciate people also going and checking out the links below for gogetfunding.com, Patreon, Subscribestar. We have a Bitcoin address and we have a Cointree link that includes a bunch of different cryptocurrencies, including privacy coins. We appreciate any help we can get, and thank you so much to those who've helped us thus far. We could not do it without you. We are basically on the streets right now. I'm in the Balkans. I'm in Macedonia, just trying to survive. So any help is very much appreciated. We sacrifice everything we have in order to tell the truth. And hey, as we see in the story today, everything we've been saying is coming to light step by step by step. And I wish it weren't the case. But anyway, as people know, there is an assassination attempt against Prime Minister Robert Fico over in Slovakia. And of course, they are framing it as, oh, well, he's some crazy right-winger populist who likes Trump and Putin. And the media is actually pushing it as like a good thing that he was shot. Of course, no leader is a good leader. I believe in humanity and freedom and individualism and voluntarism. But I know when someone is plotting an attack, of course, on humanity more so than any politician. We saw that with the vaccines with many African leaders as well, who were mysteriously assassinated or died mysteriously. Okay, so we have a lot of video coming out of the suspect being arrested. We have video coming out of Robert Fico being rushed to rushed into a vehicle and pulled out of the place. Again, he had just finished a government meeting and walked out and got shot several times. And, the security around him was absolutely terrible. I have to say, it's absolutely unbelievable. But again, I should mention that a lot of these guys in Eastern Europe, they don't have as much security as you'd expect them to. I just met the new prime minister of Macedonia last week. He was just walking down the street. I took a photo of him. You can find it on our Twitter. So again, it is pretty easy to approach some of these people, but it took 3 shots. I don't know. I just feel like, especially in a time when we're moving into World War III, especially with that region. Slovakia is going to be one of the most important parts of that region going into World War III. They're a NATO country who likes Russia, and there were NATO meets Ukraine, and they are, of course, very much against the World Health Organization, the pandemic treaty, and the vaccines. So what is one to expect? The Guardian says he is borrowing from Trump the rise of Robert Fico, Slovakia's populist leader. The veteran politician shot and wounded on Wednesday is a fan of Viktor Orban and has embraced even more extreme positions to retain power. So he gets shot, and the media, which pretends to be impartial, is very clearly partial and almost cheering it on that he was shot. There's video that came out of course, him saying, and this is just days ago, apparently. So it's not shocking he was shot. He says, as Prime Minister of Slovakia, I can tell you that we are going to look into these politicians and their meaningless purchases of medical devices and vaccines. Slovakia rejects the WHO pandemic treaty. And then, of course, he was shot this morning. So we can see some correlation. But I'm going to get into something that is a bit deeper than that very shortly. Why is Slovakia, a proud EU and NATO member, drifting towards Russia, as worldpoliticsreview.com says? Well, of course, he has been very close with Russia. He's rejected funding and a lot of different weapon sales to Ukraine. And remember, he is bordered with Ukraine. This stands out. It has a huge amount of correlation with the order that we're going into right now. Gareth Icke says anti-WHO, anti-COVID scam and vax mandates, anti-funding Ukraine proxy war, at least publicly. Franz Ferdinand moment, sincerely hope not. And I'm going to be getting into that in a moment as well. I wrote on Twitter in response to Concerned Citizen, this is exactly as the leaked German government document said things would go down when they came out late last year. This is the lead up to World War III. And that post, that it has over 120,000 now. I could refresh it just to see. It's really catching on. And I've gotten a countless comments. They say, what are you talking about? Where's the leaked documents? What is a correlation? Well, in January, I did this video called Breaking World War III False Flag Plan Leaked, German Government Plan for Global War with Russia in 2025. And I go into detail into how this relates. It involves Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, and yes, Slovenia, Slovakia, Ukraine, Belarus, Poland. And we need to understand how it correlates. As I read back then, this from the dailymail.co.uk, it says, Germany is preparing for Putin attack against NATO in 2025. Leaked secret plans reveal step-by-step how Russia will escalate conflict to all-out war in 18 months. And in that article, they mention a leaked German government document, which, of course, I think maps out their false flag scenarios. And I said on January 1st, my prediction video for New Year's, that there will be false flags throughout Europe leading into war throughout this year. But this leak was clearly just their plan rather than what they think is going to happen, some simulation, because it's coming true completely. Here is the map of the region. Now, if you look, there is Poland, there is Belarus, there is Ukraine, and this little country right here, this little blue one, is, of course, Slovakia. And Slovakia is a major part of NATO that it connects with Ukraine, but it's the only NATO country that's bordering Ukraine that doesn't want to be in NATO and has been rejecting funds for Ukraine while supporting Russia. And of course, Turkey could be considered in the mix here, but they have sea dividing them, the Black Sea. So we have Slovakia right here. And of course, they are caught between a rock and a hard place. They're Germany and Ukraine. Now, this is one thing that I find really interesting here. So if you look at the list of things that the German government document said, it said first, like step one, February 2024, Russia mobilizes 200,000 troops. Now we know between February and today, there has been a huge increase in troops getting moved into Ukraine, as well as French troops getting moved into Ukraine, as well as German troops. But they're all under the Peace Corps mission. It's a false pretense. But of course, we've recently seen the second biggest city in Ukraine getting invaded by Russia. And you could say invasion. You could say that they're liberating it. Again, I'm not playing that game. I know Zelensky is a piece of trash who works for the global order as part of the plan to destroy the West and move and shift power to the East and economic power and all that kind of stuff. I know it's an excuse for World War III, for the collapse of the supply chain grid, all these things to bring in the Great Reset. But I'm just speaking based on what is actually happening here. We have Russia going into Ukraine, taking Kharkiv. Kharkiv is the second biggest city in Ukraine. So we have that in spring 2024. Russia launches new offensive in Ukraine, making significant advances by June. Well, it's May, and we're seeing massive advances leading into June. So we have half a month into that. So far, step one and step two is exactly what happens. July, this is the number 3 step on this document. Russia incites violence in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Now we have up here, close to where the 3 is, Estonia, and then Latvia and Lithuania, and they have this Suwalki gap, this fake border that they're going to be putting up. But again, people will say, yeah, but Poland is in the way between Slovakia and Lithuania. Yes, but it's one of the most important strategic parts here. We have, of course, a NATO country up against Ukraine, and Poland's in the way. And Poland is continued to send arms into Ukraine. And Slovakia is one of the only ones that has been saying, no, I don't think we're going to be doing that. And again, they're one of Russia's biggest allies in the region. So there we have this incitement of violence in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Who is left here? Who is left? Of course, Slovakia. Step 4, September 2024. Kremlin sends 50,000 soldiers to Belarus for exercise. Now, that doesn't sound that crazy because they've done things like that before many times. Belarus, I believe, means white Russia. It is literally one of the most pro-Russian countries in the world. There's been it's been well documented, and I think this is significant as well, because then here we have Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus. Now you have Slovakia that's pro-Russia, and you have Poland in between. And again, both NATO countries. October 2024, this step 5 of this leak, it says Russia sends missiles to Kaliningrad. So that is also very, very plausible. Nothing about that is unusual. Number 6, December 2024, fake border conflict in Suwalki Gap. Very easy situation to happen. All you need is a few crises. And 7 is January 2025, NATO meeting on Russian threat. And of course, that they're doing that anyway. Number 8, March 2025, Russia moves more troops to Belarus. Number 9, May 2025, 300,000 NATO troops deployed. Putin either backs down or sparks World War III. I'm pretty sure when they are the ones moving troops towards Russia, that it's NATO sparking World War III. But they always play it off like that, like no one's allowed to defend themselves. But this exactly exemplifies what we're seeing with Slovakia today, with Robert Fico being shot. You have the perfect move into the July 2024 area where Russia incites violence in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. They'll probably be blamed on Russia. It's likely that, just like Slovakia, will have CIA, Mossad, or MI6 involvement in attempting to assassinate leaders, cause false flag attacks. Like I said, January 1st of this year, I did a prediction video where I said that they were going to commit false flags throughout Europe to bring in World War III. This is exactly what we're seeing today. And this German leaked document seems to be a step-by-step, play-by-play of what is going to happen. I've said this earlier on previously, on Twitter. Again, World Alt Media on Twitter. This is a map and a play-by-play of what leaked German government documents claimed would happen in the lead up to World War III. The documents came out months ago. NATO troops would be mobilized through Slovakia, while fighting would occur in Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. Russia would take Belarus voluntarily. Spring 2024, we would see new offensive by Russia, which we're already seeing in Ukraine. With multiple Soviet countries witnessing false flags, former Soviet countries, that is, witnessing false flags, Russia would get involved in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. As I said on my January 1st prediction video, we will see many false flags throughout Europe to bring the region to the brink of war. Will the reality occur exactly as the leaked German government documents claimed? That's obviously unclear and unlikely, but the regional conflict is being designed to shift power from the west to the east eventually, while in the meantime creating conflict that will destroy economies, global trade, and energy flow. Prepare yourself. What we saw today in Slovakia may be the Franz Ferdinand moment. I will attach my report from January on this below, and where I attach my video. Now, this is starting to get shared around a lot, this map, and I urge people to also share it, because I'm trying to wake people up here, because the mainstream and alternative media are totally ass backwards like usual on this, coming from both sides, all controlled opposing narratives. But as I wrote also on Twitter, may I remind people, World War I started with the shooting of Franz Ferdinand and escalated with a false flag sinking of the Lusitania. Franz Ferdinand was shot in Bosnia. People think a pro-Russian politician getting shot in Slovakia can have an echo effect into its neighboring country, Ukraine. Slovakia is literally where NATO and Ukraine cross paths. Well, I don't understand why people aren't getting. I mean, I've been getting attacked all day. Well, Slovakia isn't part of the war. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, all these countries are more north. They're sandwiched between Finland and Russia and Poland. And I'm like, yeah. And where is a conflict being fought? It's being fought in Ukraine. And they shoot a pro-Russian politician, pro-Russian prime minister in Slovakia, days after he comes out against the World Health Organization's pandemic treaty, after he's shaken hands with Russia, supported them, called out people who support Ukraine. I mean, my goodness, could it be more obvious? And of course, it's all a scripted collapse of civilization, and they need an excuse for it. So order out of chaos, of course. But people are like, well, but why would that? World War I started in Bosnia. I mean, it was in Sarajevo that we saw, Archduke Franz Ferdinand walk in a car getting shot by a young kid who accidentally started World War I. And that led to the propping up of Israel, the propping up of the United Nations, through the League of Nations, and the propping up of eventually, yes, of course, the Soviet Union with the October Revolution in October 1917. The Lusitania was sunk to escalate it. Of course, the Lusitania was sunk off of Ireland, and that was a major player in getting more troops involved in World War I, which led to just insane amounts of death. Again, order out of chaos that led to a reset of the financial system through the Federal Reserve and the global order, moving into, of course, the creation of the Soviet state, which then leads to World War II. Again, false flags involved, usually on the sea. We saw it with, of course, Pearl Harbor, which was allowed to happen by the government. And of course, we also see these conflicts that were happening at the time, all the way as far south as India, that actually had a major impact on World War II. Again, people think it all has to happen in that country. It's happening in other countries because it's knocking dominoes over and stopping future support to then bring in a new order. Israel, United Nations, and the Soviet Union were propped up again in World War II. And of course, the Bolsheviks, who were heavily inspired by Moses Hess, were big supporters. Moses Hess was a big supporter of killing all non-Talmudic Jews worldwide and creating an Israeli a state, an ethno state, as he put it himself. He started kind of a fashionable trend at the time called Zionist communism. Now, again, these different things all play into this. So we have to look at each single situation and see that they are leading to other further conflicts down the road. So In the case of, for example, what we're seeing in Slovakia today, who's to say that that won't be the kickoff point if he dies? And again, even if he doesn't die, it's quite clear what the attempt was there, what they're trying to do: shut him up, shut the country up, and clear the way under the threat of duress that they will then use this as a road into Ukraine, as NATO brings Ukraine into the mix, and of course goes to war with Russia, all part of the agenda. Just like, Vietnam was armed and funded in the 30s to then fight against the U.S. in the Vietnam War. Korea was propped up. China was propped up in 1948 by the U.S. government and Israelis, by the way. Then you also have the factor of Iran, which is a big part of World War III, which, again, it was through the coup in 1953 that they got propped up, and then the Ayatollahs came in and they started fighting back against the CIA, as they say, but in reality, who armed the Ayatollahs? It's controlled opposition. And of course, then the arming and funding of Iraq, and of course, the arming and funding of the Mujahideen, Al Qaeda, Taliban, ISIS, Muslim Brotherhood. Of course, the propping up of China by Kissinger and the Trilateral Commission with Zbigniew Brzezinski in the 70s, and leading into, of course, the Maidan Massacre, which was a false flag by the United States, Britain, and Israel, which framed the pro-Russian party for attacks, which got them a bunch of people locked up in prison, caused a coup in 2014 in Ukraine, which led to what we see today with Zelensky. All of this was created and orchestrated by the West in order to collapse himself, in order to move into the new world order, the Great Reset. As Klaus Schwab said himself, the role model for the Great Reset is China, a global technocracy. You need a conflict. You need an emergency in order to do this. You need a destruction of the food supply, the energy supply, the housing market, so you will own nothing and you will be enslaved. The idea of doing all these things so then they could provide rations for you and free, quote unquote, free housing. And of course, you have to have a good carbon credit score, a social credit score. You can't say bad things. You'll be on a digital ID attached to a CBDC in a 15-minute city, and they'll push the climate agenda for this. They'll push World War III for this. The United Nations said themselves last year that they could shut down the whole world, lock everyone down for any reason. And they said those reasons will include a climate catastrophe, they said, an economic crisis, black swan event, of course, alien invasion, they said. Again, the collapse of an economy, they said a world war or any kind of terrorist attack. They can force people into lockdown over this kind of thing. They said it themselves, not me. They said it. So people keep saying, oh, well, conspiracy theorists. They're the ones saying this, just like Germany is the one that leaked these documents. They're the ones that mapped out this potential march into World War III. So it's very frustrating when we have these guys literally saying what they're going to do. They tell us ahead of time. We talk about it and we're called crazy. No, we have to follow along the war path like Tim Pool and other fake alternative medias. We need to follow that path towards war, and the new narrative, which is just another version of the mainstream narrative, but directing the other way, just like CNN and Fox News were so-called opposites for a while, even though they're controlled opposition to each other. And now mainstream media and alternative media are doing the same thing with each other because more people are waking up, so that they now have to manipulate the message further. Don't fall for it. What we saw with Robert Fico is only the beginning, unfortunately. Good overcomes evil eventually. We will win overall. But first, it's going to get worse. Let's be clear. And we need to prepare for that reason, because there will be more false flags. We're going into an election season in the United States, which means a huge chance of civil war at the same time as a world war. We've never seen anything like this before in human history. And we are marching, doing a death march right into the new technocratic world order of the Great Reset. And if we do not prepare today, then we will not be able to survive and prevail tomorrow. So we as individuals need to take this seriously. People think, well, Slovakia is a far way away from me. Yeah, well, it's not that far when it comes to politics. They are trying to enslave the world, and this is clearly an intelligence agency attack in order to bring in a new agenda and get emergency orders and decrees to bring in a further conflict. And of course, NATO being on the border of Ukraine and shooting the one guy who says that we aren't going to let NATO go into Ukraine, even though they already are secretly, but that's besides the point. It's just an obvious, chess move here. So the problem with the chessboard is that, we have most of the population asleep Even the people that are awake are generally asleep on most issues. And it's like sacrificing the pawns for the king and the queen. This is the chessboard we're on, unless we take advantage of opportunities we have today to prepare for tomorrow so that we don't have to worry tomorrow about the enslavement of mankind by technocracy, by CBDCs, by all these different things that are obviously being rolled out, all under the guise of convenience and under the guise of solutions to the problems that the people that are giving you the so-called solutions created in the first place. So very important. Again, go check out our Twitter at World Alt Media, where we've been talking about this. We have a lot of arguments going on over there, and people are losing their bloody mind over it because they can't imagine a world where everything is scripted. Oh no, it's just a simulation, or oh no, they aren't directly saying Slovakia will be. Slovakia is clearly on the map as like one of the main places in this future war. Again, between Poland and Ukraine, I mean, could it be more obvious? But nonetheless, out of sight, out of mind, right? Ignorance is strength, war is peace, freedom is slavery, as Orwell said. It's always a double think mentality here. But anyway, again, these are ways that you can support yourself. I really hope people take that seriously because it's the only way that humanity will survive. Get prepared. Don't wait until the grocery stores are empty. Don't wait until they're feeding you mRNA food and modified RNA food and bugs at your Bill Gates ration line attached to your carbon and social credit score attached to a digital ID on a CBDC, which they are literally rolling out now, with BRICS also releasing their world reserve currency later this year at their summit. Go to heavensharvest.com. Again, get long-term storable food that's non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, books on how to get started. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and of course you get 5% off, as well as free shipping to the United States. This is one of the most important things you can do for yourself and your family. You're saving money versus inflation. They're really big sizes of servings compared to most companies. And of course, again, this is the world's first currency, food. Your money, when it's worthless, won't mean anything if you don't have food. There's someone that, told me, it was a taxi driver in Romania a little while back ago when I was there, about a year and a half, 2 years ago almost. And I was there for a few weeks, and I'm in this taxi, and the guy said, under communism, we had lots of money, but we had no food. Under fascism, we had no money, but we had lots of food. He says, which one would you rather? And I said, well, I wouldn't rather any, but I mean, if I was to pick, yeah, the fascism, because I'd rather have the food, because the food is a real currency. It's what you need the money in order to afford. So again, as we're marching into this technocratic Marxism, having food is the most important thing you could possibly have as a currency. Again, the world's first currency was food. So get yourself and your family prepared, and don't put them at risk by waiting on this. Heavensharvest.com, code WAM, W-A-M. They're also poisoning the food supply, so make sure to go and check out Wild Pastures and get 20% off for life plus $15 off your first box of 100% grass-fed and finished beef, pasture-raised pork, pasture-raised chicken, and wild-caught seafood. No mRNA, no modified RNA, no hormones, antibiotics, steroids, GMOs, pesticides, any chemical of any kind. Raised on regenerative family farms in 48 U.S. states, delivered to your door, temperature controlled and customizable as you see fit. You can only get this deal through there. So help save the farmers, save yourself, save your health, and save some money at the same time. Go and check that out. That's Wild Pastures, linked in the description. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure to find it on Rumble or BitChute at World Alternative Media in the description of those videos. Of course, there are ways to survive the CBDC system by buying physical gold and silver, platinum, palladium. If you go to firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/, make sure it's that exact link, you can sign up with Mark Gonzalez and get physical gold and silver in your hands, in a vault, or in an IRA, 401k, whatever it might be. Again, make sure it's with Mark Gonzalez. You'll get a free consultation, a complimentary investor package. And when you sign up, make sure to let him know that you found him through World Alternative Media, or WAM, W-A-M. And we appreciate that, and you'll appreciate it later as well. Health-wise, make sure to check out rncstore.com, Richardson Nutritional Center, your source for Laetrile online, made famous by G. Edward Griffin's book, World Without Cancer. Get your apricot seeds, Laetrile, amygdalin, and vitamin B17 there. Make sure to use code JOSH, J-O-S-H, and you can save a bunch of money on your order. I think it's extremely important going forward, so make sure to go and check that out in the description, rncstore.com. Again, code JOSH, J-O-S-H. Link is in the description. We also have madtravnutrition.com for 100% organic Peruvian coffee from Jaymie Icke over at Ickonic. Again, you can also get MANUKA honey and, of course, mushroom tinctures. Make sure to use code JOSH, JOSH, and you will save money on that. Also, go to Lion Energy and get batteries, solar panels, solar chargers, generators, etc., so you aren't dependent on the government for electricity. Again, our link means that you save money and get free shipping. To close us all off, you could go and check out our gogetfunding.com, Patreon, Subscribestar, Bitcoin address, or Cointree link, and help support us if you can. Again, we could not do it without you guys. I'm in Macedonia right now. I have no money. I am kind of just I had to give up my home. It's been very difficult. We're waiting for this visa process, and it's just not working. It's taking forever, and I'm just stuck in limbo here. So I appreciate any help we can get on this, and it really is life-saving. You guys are the reason we're still alive, because we're not popular to the mainstream or alternative media for obvious reasons, because we don't play with their narratives. We say the truth, and we add things up in our minds, and we figure out where we're being screwed and where we're being misled and led to the slaughter with. So if you want to help support real independent media who doesn't get the millions of dollars that other alternative medias get, we appreciate any help we can get. It's going to a good cause, I assure you. And of course, with that said, again, we have all those other ways. Patreon, Subscribestar. I'm going to be making videos directly just for you guys who subscribe $5 or more a month on Patreon or Subscribestar. Again, we have a Teespring store with merchandise, and you can find us on Telegram, Rockfin, Band.video, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon at World Alternative Media. Find us on Hive, Steemit, and Vigilante.tv at Josh Sigurdson, and on the Bad Guys TikTok and Instagram, World Alternative Media, Twitter and Getter at World Alt Media, and all the major podcast platforms except for Spotify, of course. Hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already. As always, live by example, live freely. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.